.0.
It's the pop-up show. It's a pop-up show. It's the pop-up show. Pop, pop, pop. It's the pop-up show. Pop, pop, pop. It's the pop-up show. Something's happening, something going on. TTNL back live to get it on. 7 bucks a month, don't need a coupon. We worldwide, the flags waving strong. Surprising your paging with breaking news. Bring a whole lot of truth, no pay-per-views. Could be called Shane or DDB. Just another branch on this family tree. The tape never lies like a boy JC. No narratives allow how we rock the beat. Breaking news on time, now we ain't no bullets. Jealous networks make us out to be villains. Unbreakable truths like a man Bruce Willis. We stand tall in the city like the Willis Tower. Over the competition we devour. Friends every time like the slobber bears hour. I was fall asleep when the apple is bit. We're taking out the frauds who here to Great Britain. You can't run that eye, brother, who are you shin? Patrons of the truth, this network spin. Old man reporting live from the dungeons. We keep it real, tears from chopping onions. Bears Nation on the rise, be on the coverage. Hot off the press, hot fresh out the oven. It's the pop-up show. Pop, pop. It's the pop-up show. Pop, pop, pop. It's the pop-up show. The pop-up. It's the pop-up show. Pop. It's the pop-up show. Pop, pop. It's the pop-up show. What? It's the pop-up show. Pop, pop, pop. It's the pop-up show. TTNL.
Breaking news. The tape never lies. Network breaking news.
The Bears cut a punter, cars.
I
Does it get any bigger than that?
Absolute freak out mode. The fact that we're gonna not keep 2 punters on this roster really just shows how we aren't taking this season serious enough.
It's over. It's over.
And they cut the wrong one. I mean, the racist Bears are clearly just, anyway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get myself into trouble.
I got home early today, so I texted my guy Cars. I'm like, hey, let's go live as these cuts are about to be announced here. I know at this point nothing has been too crazy. I guess I was a little bit surprised maybe with Aviante Collins, maybe that they would have a veteran guy, but I mean, even that you can't consider. It doesn't qualify as a shocking move. The Bears are obviously going to be in roster churning at the bottom end of this roster, but the top end of it, as we all know for a long time, it's pretty well set.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to the depth of the roster that Marcus Stroman can't make this team. Yeah. And he's going to probably go be a starting nickel for a team that signs him. It is really kind of a crazy scenario here. You hear about teams trying to trade for, what was it, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, and corners. Those are some of the underappreciated or underdeveloped roles in a lot of teams, and the Bears are overflowing in some instances at that. So I'll absolutely take it.
It is Grady. Reed has been cut, so the Bears are down officially to 2 quarterbacks. Obviously, Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent, Brett Rippon is expected by everybody to sign someplace rather quickly.
Yep.
By another team, and I think you'll probably see Reed added back to the practice squad here by
as the oldest QB in the room.
Yeah, exactly. The rookie quarterback, undrafted free agent, the oldest guy. And Orangeberry, yes, it is hot as balls in New York. I think it's hot as balls everywhere right now. It is hot.
I have learned about a new thing called corn sweat, which is definitely something interesting and had not been in my vocabulary for the previous 40 plus years of my life. So
Yeah. So I mean, Cars. I mean, at this point, I don't think like we said, nobody is too surprised. Is there anything that to this point that is, surprised you at all? I mean, even the tight ends. Yeah, I think they're gonna add 2 of the tight ends that they released to the practice squad if they don't get scooped up.
So I know it hasn't been announced officially about the Strowman thing. I'm a little shocked seeing some of the trades that have happened that they weren't able to get a pick for him. But at the same point, like you're talking about 6th, 7th rounders for a lot of
Yeah,
these
well, and a
guys.
lot of times the way that works, and don't forget, I'm not saying to you, but for everybody that's listening, this is business. You say, hey, Brad Biggs or Tom Pelissaro, this guy is going to be cut. They put that out there. It's not made official. Then teams are like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, we'll flip you a conditional 7 for Strowman. And then that's how business is done. So that's still in play. Absolutely. But yeah, we'll see here.
We were talking before the show. Kansas City's really good at doing that, at identifying players that are on the bubble in some of these teams, right? Like the trade that they just made with Dallas, and understanding who's there and reach out. I'm not saying that I think it's interesting that they haven't fully announced that it's done, but they're gonna wait and see, and if somebody's desperate enough, like the only team probably desperate enough is our own division, and I don't think we're trading Marcus Stroman to the Vikings, right? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Drew, Brett Coleman threw out a scenario today. I don't think it's, very realistic. I mean, it ended up be considered as a mega blockbuster under his terms. But if let's just say in your case that the Bears traded for Trent Williams, you're not trading for 1 year of Trent Williams. I mean, because they're not giving him away.
Who is 36 years old, by the way.
Right.
Still plays at an extremely high level. I think, Shane, I don't know about your takeaway from this, but I find it fascinating that, sorry, I always say Marcus Stroman at the end of the old Cub that was here. Greg Stroman, sorry.
Yeah.
But I think it's fascinating in San Francisco's world that Ayuk's hold in all this attention and Trent Williams has not.
Yep.
The 49ers have really allowed themselves to be held hostage by Bosa, gave in to what he wants.
Yeah.
Now, that move and the need to re-sign Brock Purdy here to a very hefty extension is going to cost him the 2 players that are extremely are going to be required for him to perform at that high of a level. I just don't know.
And if you're Brock Purdy, you don't have the years that like a Kirk Cousins had in the league, but he has all the power.
Oh, he does. I mean, he's been a 7th round guy. He's played well above and beyond his contract. And if he looks around and he goes, he's got the game manager label. There's nothing wrong with that. But if he looks out and he sees what Tua and Jared Goff, I mean, we're 2 years removed from Jared Goff being the 2nd most expensive quarterback in the NFL. And if you're Brock Purdy at his age, at the way he's grown, I think the number for him starts at 55. To what he's going to add. Yeah. And the 49ers have a very top-heavy roster, and this is going to just ricochet all the way down. So Trent Williams has to be on the market. Brandon Ayuk has to be on the market. And I don't know what San Francisco is going to do, so I'm going to continue to watch that. But that whole thing of like that mega deal where it's us, the Ravens,
in San Francisco.
Yeah,
so it would be a first. This isn't reported. This is completely made up scenario by Brett Coleman, who does awesome work, and everybody should follow him to see his work. But he had a scenario of it was Rashad Bateman, and Baltimore's first rounder going to San Francisco. The Bears trade Braxton Jones and a 2nd rounder to San Francisco. The Bears receive Trent Williams. The Ravens receive Brandon Ayuk.
And it's again, that's not based on anything.
Right. Yeah. Completely made up scenario.
But it's getting to crunch time for San Francisco because Williams has said he will not play until his contract is redone. Ayuk has said the same thing. So I just, if you're San Francisco, desperation is hitting.
Sure.
Because you are, to me, you are the team most likely to win the NFC as it sits. Talent-wise, you should. But without these two guys, I think you start looking at Detroit making a Super Bowl run, and that San Francisco's window is effectively closed at this point.
It's, they have a ton of talent, but everything is the Piper needs to be paid, and it seems like everything is coming all at once, and we'll see how it works out. But I'm glad I'm not a Niners fan at the moment. We'll just
can you imagine going through all of that to get as close as you did twice?
Yeah.
And then you've just extended Lynch, you've just extended Shanahan.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked about it before. John Lynch is one of the worst drafters over the last couple of years when you look at like what they have done and
right. And and I understand the scenario, and I don't want to go down this road again, but we all know that we took Mitch Trubisky in a trade with San Francisco, but let's not forget that San Francisco could have taken Patrick Mahomes at number 3, and they took the defensive tackle from Stanford instead. And you imagine the scenario where Patrick Mahomes is in San Francisco right now, and that's pretty crazy to think about. Absolutely. But yeah, Keys guy. So yeah, 3 p.m. East. They're supposed to be starting to roll in here just a couple of minutes. After, where was it? I know Bullets had a question in here, Cars, and I'll let you hit on it a little bit. Speak on the running back room, please. It's pretty crowded in there.
It's not really that crowded anymore. When you really look at it, Ian Wheeler's injury probably did them a little bit of a service.
Yeah.
I do think that means that Velus probably makes this team over Travis Homer because he gives you a little bit more and you can turn him into the gunner that Homer was. But I think you're going to see it's going to be 4 running backs and a fullback, and that is going to be done.
Yeah, I think it's pretty well set, and I understand. And this is the thing that Bears fans need to grasp. I know our guy, Scottish Bear fan, was kind of worried about the politics playing into this with Velus, and the way that we're talking about a 4th string running back. At the very end of the day, we know he's not a punt returner. We know that he has shown he can be one of the best kick returners in the NFL. But is there a lot of upside there as a running back? I think that's probably very much debatable. But we're not talking about a top end of the roster guy. They could keep Velus, and Velus is gone next week. That's where he is on this roster. And that's I sent this out to our patrons earlier, and I'm going to repeat this now for everybody. Initial 53 is not final 53. So when you see these cuts when they come in, don't lose your mind, because a lot of these guys are going to hey, we made it, and tomorrow they're gone. The bottom end of this roster, especially at offensive line, defensive line, especially on the interior of the defensive line, who knows? There's going to be a lot of turnover. Are they going to? We'll see what happens even at a thing like safety. Who knows what going to go on? They're going to add some guys back to
cutting Colbert was a big right?
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. And I think
so. Just don't overreact yet. There's Ryan Poles, Ian Cunningham. They have a plan, and we've said all along, the better your team becomes, the harder it is on cut day. You're like, wow, didn't expect that. Well, that's part of having a team, a young team with depth, is you're cutting guys that you just can't keep.
Well, what a change it is for us to be at this part where we're talking about having to cut talented players when last off season we were sitting here going, how the hell do we flush out this roster in its entirety?
Our guy Matt Waldman put out a tweet a few days ago talking about, it was right after the Eagles and Commanders trade. The Philly picked up the wide receiver from Penn State. And Waldman asked what wide receiver has been traded, this time of year that has actually made an impact, in terms of their, of a starter. And I threw out the joke to you and Ryan Cox at the time, look at them disrespecting Dontrell Inman. There was a point where people were like, oh, this is interesting. We flipped a 7th round draft pick for Dontrell Inman. And he actually came in his first game and didn't play bad his first game as a Bear. But that was the point in roster construction where we were getting excited about a move like that. Dontrell Inman. Now we're sitting here,
ourselves into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're talking about a 4th string running back potentially being on the roster or off the roster, wide receiver convert. And that's a topic of conversation. That means you have a pretty good roster. Be happy about that part.
Well, and I tweeted about it yesterday because I'm bracing myself for the inevitable freak out about Dominique Robinson. Yeah. And for those who have very short-term memories, we went through this whole thing last year about how dare we keep him over Travis Gibson. Look how many sacks he did. And Terrell Lewis was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And I hate to break it, Terrell Lewis didn't get a single snap all last season. Travis Gibson got 1 sack.
Yeah.
And
he just got traded.
He just got traded. So
to Seattle.
Dominique, I understand that he hasn't been the player. He's a late round pick, but you also have to understand, compared to some of these other guys, Dominique actually will go play 3 technique in some pass rushing downs. Yep. He has physicality to go inside. So when you're talking about him versus a Hardy does not have that frame to go do it, and that's why we'll see that risk. So yes, the upside is not there, but even with Hardy, as much as I love him and think that he should be on this team, he's getting 3 to 5 snaps at best on defense a game.
And that's going to be for most teams, Cars.
Yes.
He's going to be on the Bears practice squad.
Oh, what is it? How many? They say that basically 25 players a year get
league wide. Yeah, league wide. And I've fallen into that trap. How can the Bears do that? Somebody's going to come in and scoop this guy up. Look how excited everybody was about Colin Johnson after the Hall of Fame game. Yep. Oh, he's taking a step and boom, here we go. He's cut and very likely added back to the practice squad, but that's the way that it goes. And one thing to remember about Dominique Robinson, he was a 5th round draft pick for a reason. He's never had a consistent position in his football life until he came to the highest level in the NFL. So yeah, it's going to take him some time. And if the Bears defensive coaches see something in him, keep him on and see what you can do. I don't think that there's a lot of downside.
Well, with Washington here, that's also a reason why Washington is here, because of his development of different guys, and you think you've got a better coach to bring him along. So yeah, it's at this point, the way that they've kind of constructed this roster and made decisions.
Yep.
I'm not going to sit down and disagree with any of these things. At the top of the roster, sure, you can. But like when it comes to the last 10, 15 slots, you're really talking about special teams guys and 3, 5, 7 offenses or defense. Like Travis Homer, if he makes the team, he might see a couple of 3rd down plays.
Maybe if a guy gets hurt, right? Maybe.
And that's
exactly.
And that's it.
Yeah. So Joseph, there hasn't been any surprise cuts yet. I know I had throwing this out there, and I'm not pushing for it, but I'm like, a surprise would be if they released Tyler Scott. You know what I mean? That's kind of where we're at. Wouldn't you agree that would constitute kind of as the most surprising thing? I mean, I don't think that they're going to release him, but I mean, I'm not really going to be shocked. Nate Davis. So if they said, you know what, that guy came, that would be the one. So I just don't think that I don't think that that's in the cards at all.
It's tough. One thing I do want to, go ahead. Yeah, I think that's going to be the grouping. Yeah.
And it's going to depend on too with Pickens. There's, depending on how his injury is, and we don't know. Brad Biggs has floated it out there. The Bears are going to start the year with 3 guys that are going to open the season on IR. One is expected to be Patrick Scales. Who are going to be the other 2 guys? Is it going to be Pickens? Is it going to be Borum? We'll soon see.
Yeah, absolutely. The one I want to cover right now, no, there are no legs. This is all made up. What I will say, the only thing I take away from this, Shane, is CeeDee Lamb being the extension that's done.
Yep.
They're going to wait and see how this season pans out before they make a decision on either Dak or Parsons.
Yeah, and if there was going to be any shot at him going, that's going to come in the offseason. After you said it's going to give them another year, and
well, I would say there's potential around the trade deadline, only in the sense of Dallas is already having some injury struggles, right?
Yep.
Deron Bland is out. If the wheels fall off this season a little bit, Dallas is going to be close to reboot mode because they don't have the offensive line that they used to. They don't have the defense that they used to. And so what I could see happening, Parsons has value, Dak, because of that contract, does not.
Yeah.
So I have jokingly referred to this with a good friend, Dustin, as the sellout for the Sanders sisters, Dion and Shadur.
Yeah.
But that would be a move that I would see. So someone said they heard it's on the 1 yard line. My favorite retort is, it is on the 1 yard line. It's just our own 1 yard line.
On the opposite one.
And we've got to go 99 more yards.
But I will say this, if for whatever reason there was, I think that the Bears are 100% going to be involved.
If there's a big name anybody on either side of the line right now, they have probably called about Trent Williams, right? Just to gauge that as a deal. But I think they're higher on Braxton still than most of us. They have called about Parsons. They've made these calls because they know these things are. They're trying to figure out if there's a potential for them to come available and what teams may be looking for in return. So the guy who put it on Twitter, always trust an anonymous Bulls, Bears, White Sox screen name with no picture and inside sources stuff.
Yeah, so I'm just perusing Twitter here, and the Cleveland Browns initial 53-man roster includes an interesting depth chart, and that's at quarterback, where they have 4 quarterbacks.
They're making a trade.
Yeah, they have to be.
Huntley, they've been taking offers for both Huntley and Jameis. So one of those 2 will get traded, and that's why they're there.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Absolutely.
And yes, Creighton, we did try to sign Trent Williams, but this was during the Justin Fields days. And so he was less inclined during that point when he didn't believe in the talent. And he wanted to compete for a Super Bowl.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm just going through here. So yeah, some more on the Browns. They have 4 quarterbacks and 2 running backs on their initial 53-man rosters. So
that's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL this year in Deshaun Watson, just like we all expected. Who, according to all the GMs in the league, is a 3rd tier at best quarterback. And if he has another season like he did last year, we'll be moving down to a 4th tier.
Yeah. So How do you think that this is going to play out at corner, Cars? Do you think that?
I think they're going to go young. I
Yeah.
think
So Reddy is going to be the guy.
I do, because he showed that ball hawking nature. And what do we know about any of these cover 2 scenarios? They want people to sit down and make those kind of plays on the ball. What were we complaining about before Jalen Johnson took off at the end? That he wasn't getting enough interceptions. When you look at what Kyler Gordon is doing, Kyler is starting to be more impactful around fumbles and interceptions. So those type of traits sort of trump, like pure coverage skills. Like if you look at, let's use the example again back to Dallas. They've got 2 cornerbacks that are in Bland, and I forget the other one now, who are very keen to give up big plays, but they also will pick off passes and score touchdowns. That's extremely important now. You want playmakers on both sides, and I think Reddy is the one. He'll be inactive on game day, but I think he makes the team.
All right, it's crazy how this is just nonstop. The Bills and Jets just made a trade for a return man.
Boy, I don't know about you, Shane, but I am anxiously watching where the Bills are midway through the season.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like they're a team, they lost so much talent.
Yeah.
And when you look at that preseason game against us, that defense didn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. And listen, Josh Allen is a fantastic player, but he goes through those peaks and valleys, and sometimes when he hits those valleys, it's at the most inopportune time that anyone can imagine. And I understand it, but man, they are putting a ton of pressure on a rookie second round wide receiver. And if you watched any of the Bills preseason games beyond ours, Cars, whenever they got in,
the
red zone, they were forcing the ball to him to get him work and more work and more work. So
and I like him as a personality, but you're going to see Khalil Shakir break off way more than you're going to see Keon do that, because I don't think he's ready. And that's no shame. That's him spending all that time in Michigan State, where running the passing game was an afterthought. It was like high school football, right? We're going to run left, run right, run center. And so that those are the things I'm more anxious about this year, which is kind of nice again, that we're not worried about our own roster construction.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how these other teams are building and starting to be basically who's going to suck.
Absolutely.
Or fall back.
I should have highlighted it here, but I know somebody said, do you think that the Bears are done on the defensive line? And I do not. I mean, I think that they're always going to, that's someplace that they're always going to be looking, if the right guy is there, if like you said, you talked about if Buffalo's got a couple of young guys, I don't think that they're going to be trading, but you look at a team like Washington, and I know the names that have been out there, and Jonathan Allen and guys like that, more so on the interior. This is how we got our best defensive lineman last year. I mean, I know everybody realizes that with Montez Sweat, but the Bears aren't closing the doors on any deals, because what have we heard all offseason, Cars? This is why you have the rookie quarterback contract. It's because that's when you make these moves. If for whatever reason Micah Parsons hit the trade market because Dallas bottoms out near the trade deadline, that's what you do. You go make a move like that because you have a rookie quarterback.
Well, and I think we take it the step further here, and we go, if you have anything to take away from Hard Knocks and from the Judon situation, the Bears come across believing that their ceiling for this season is a lot higher than it was for a lot of folks. I take that they have expectations of making a run at the playoffs hardcore. If not, their expectation is to make the playoffs. And so if they start out strong and have some good wins and start moving, what's interesting is it becomes less about, okay, are we going to make the playoffs? And it starts coming into how deep of a run can we make? How quickly can we go? You look at Cincinnati a couple years ago, right? Burrow gets a little bit injured his first year, and then all of a sudden things click that second year, and they go beat everybody on the road in a playoff game, which is phenomenal. You're talking Buffalo, Kansas City to get to a Super Bowl just to get there and see and they had a chance in that Super Bowl. And so it'll be interesting to watch, because I feel like Poles and company are a very aggressive front office to begin with.
Right.
But if we start winning and start looking like we can make a bigger rush, if Detroit starts to slip a little bit or Green Bay has that same slow start that they did last year, you're going to see them get even more aggressive.
Yeah. And I know people are asking about a Micah Parsons deal and what it would take. I mean, it's going to be expensive. You make him, I mean, how old is he? 24 years old?
Yeah. Now don't forget too, he's got a lot of red flags as well, because personality-wise, effort-wise, there are some of those other factors. And that's part of why Parsons was also not priority one when it came between him and CeeDee Lamb. So they got to weigh all that in as well.
Sure. But they're not, I mean, you're not trading for Micah Parsons for the Carolina pick. You know what I mean? You're not.
Oh God, no, you're 2 firsts.
2 firsts. Yeah. It's going to be essentially the Khalil Mack deal expanded after that, because the Bears actually got back a second rounder. But again, it's going to be massive compensation plus a market setting deal.
Yeah. He will he will beat Bosa's deal hands down.
100. Yeah, just based on age alone, I mean they're gonna overlook a lot of the red flags as long as there's nothing, too toxic there, and
they'll do their due diligence and figure out what is true and what's not. I feel like with some of this Parsons stuff, it's become so extreme. You're like, okay, this is hitting Caleb territory now, right? Where it's how it was beforehand.
So the Chargers just came in with their initial cuts, and former Bear Alex Leatherwood is on there. I don't think that
Equanimeous St. Brown got cut from the Saints.
Yeah. Ricky Stromberg being released in Washington. I know that's a name that has interested a lot of people at the center position, especially here in Chicago. But we got to kind of see where Bates is. Is Bates going to be a guy that's starting I don't know. Is he going to be one of the guys, Cars, that starts the year on?
He might be.
Yeah.
But the other thing I take away is, and I don't know those of you who saw the Nate Tice on Hogan Johns thing, and New England gets all this attention for having a bad offensive line. Spoiler alert, so does Washington. And so picking up a guy who was drafted last year and can't make a very bad Commanders offensive line rotation or depth chart, that is a red flag. That would be, that'd be like being a wide receiver and not being able to make the Chargers roster right now, right?
Yeah.
Who are so weak. So that would probably be a big pause for the Bears on Stromberg. If you can't make Washington, what is going on?
Right. So here's just a quick recap of guys that have been released / waive / put on IR. Tight end Tommy Sweeney, wide receiver Freddie Swain, quarterback Brett Rippon, quarterback Austin Reed, Jatiri Carter, Jerome Carvin, Jake Curran, Aviante Collins, Keith Randolph, Jalen Hutchins, Michael Dwumfor, Brian Cowart, Deshaun Mallory, Khalid Kareem, who, if you remember, we were all excited about having the first pick in the waiver claim process last year, and we used it on Khalid Kareem last year. Javin White, Carl Jones. Carl Jones is expected back on the Bears practice squad.
He's a fascinating dude in a year.
Yep, he really is. Quindell Johnson is the other guy we claimed from the Rams last year. DB Leon Jones, another name that is expected back on the practice squad. We talked about Adrian Colbert, Peter LeBlanc, John Jackson, Colin Johnson, wide receiver released. I think it was Ben Ricketts in the chat was asking about him. He's expected back on the practice squad. Tight end Steven Carlson expected back on the practice squad. And then you have your reserve IR guys, Ian Wheeler, Simba Webster, Doug Coleman, Patrick Scales, who is expected back sometime in October, I believe was the report. Correct, Cars?
Yes.
On that. And we don't really know I think Ryan Cox said he had heard maybe it was a lower back or something along those lines. But yeah, we still have a long ways to go to see former Bear Deontay Foreman cut in Cleveland. So he continues his one and done in places. I know he got hurt earlier, but yeah, so he's gonna be looking for a new home, but still.
Nope. You're on mute. Oh.
Yeah, my phone connected to another thing. Can you hear me okay now?
I can. Can you hear me now? Good.
Yeah, gotcha. But yeah, I'm just refreshing here to see.
It hasn't been
nothing.
The shock and awe. And I think that there never really is. Right. And there's all this build up to this moment. And then everyone kind of waits for that one name that everybody's going to rush to claim. And it just, unless a team is really expensive and gone through preseason and realize, like this would be like if the Atlanta Falcons all of a sudden were like, oh man, we spent all this money. We don't have a shot. All right, let's make some moves. I just don't see that. The Saints should be sellers, but every year they convince themselves somehow that they're in it, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, we talked about Cleveland with the 4 quarterbacks on the roster, and this coming out now, Case Keenum, backup quarterback in Houston, out for the season on IR. So you could very well see one of those extra quarterbacks being involved down there, however that works out. But yeah, we're sitting here just waiting for some more Bears news I know we got it.
I'm waiting to see the Jets, right? Like there are a couple names like Leonard Taylor because of how deep their team is.
My guy, Cars. I know.
But that could be that could be a move where the Bears try to make a trade to get the guy.
I would love it. I would love it. He fits so well. Just a guy that kind of underperformed in the chaos that was the Miami Hurricanes there for a lot of years. And
but that's what happened with Dexter, right? Like Dexter went to Florida and then that messed up situation happened. And Miami's been really a mess for quite a while. So there are certain teams you want to look at where they have better depth than others, right? Like when Detroit releases an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman right now, people are going to be more apt to go do that. Philadelphia has a ton of people. The Jets still have to figure out what's happening with Hassan Reddick, right? Because he's still not showing up. And you've got Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk. So I think most likely the largest oh my gosh moments are going to be trades that you're going to see within the next week or so of if anyone's getting moved.
Yep, I'm just going through here, and I know I did Mile, I did forget about Davis Mills there, but yeah, just interesting to see. You see a guy go out the year like that. It doesn't matter who it is. You hate to see any of these guys go out for the season with the season so close. But Cars, do you have a prediction on the final offensive line
Yeah, so
roster?
I think the 5 that we talked about outside of Braxton, Tevin, Coleman Shelton's been really playing pretty well.
Yep.
Nate Davis, Darnell Wright, Ryan Bates, Bill Murray, Karan.
Amagaji,
Yeah, Karan Awagaji. And then I'm trying to think. I really think that's 8 right there. I don't know that they were going to keep 9 this year, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean it's a place I don't think that they're done with. That they're always going to be scouring the wire. So yeah, I'm just looking at
and
the
Matt Pryor will be the 9th. Sorry, Matt Pryor will make the team
Pryor.
as well.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
that'll
Yeah,
be
I
the
mean
9th.
they've went out of their way. Oh, and Kramer.
I don't think Kramer. I don't.
They're probably going to have to keep him though until they know what's going on with Bates. No.
I don't think they will, because I don't think anyone's rushing to go pick him up either.
But who's going to be the backup center?
Pryor, I think they said could snap, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but boy, that seems pretty risky.
But I mean, what they would just do is put him on the practice squad and then do what,
pull him up. Yeah.
Do the Bradley Sewell shuffle and just and pull him up.
Yeah, and then did you have Borum on there?
No, I do not, because of the injury.
And then the money, because he's got the kick up to $3 million with his.
Yeah, he's gone. The injury just really helps with it. But we'll see with Bates. If Bates is injured, Kramer makes it. If he's going on IR, Bates will make it, or Kramer will make it. If he's not, it's done.
Here's a perfect question for you, Cars. I'll let you handle this one right here.
I would like some. I am surprised. I didn't think he played terrible, but I will say that Bill Murray has been really a very nice surprise for the team.
Ryan Cox just texted me and said, burn him at the stake.
I mean, it's devastating. And I know I need my privacy at this moment. But to be completely fair, this year, Bill has definitely outplayed him. I mean, it showed that he was second team guard for most of it, and Jatiri was third. So they see something in him. It is interesting that he is a 27-year-old rookie, but Jatiri also wasn't one of the younger players. So guard will be another position that they'll probably make some more decisions on.
Do you think that they will give a look to a guy like Stromberg? I can't remember. He was connected to the Bears a little bit pre-draft last year, correct?
He was, correct. But I think a lot of that more was center's a need. Stromberg plays center. Therefore, the marriage is there. He is, from all the reports out of the Washington folks, he was one of the biggest losers overall for the training camp and preseason for his play. They were desperate to find someone to stand up, and he just couldn't.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll look at him at all.
I know you and I talked about this and Ryan Cox a little bit yesterday, but I'll let you. Our guy Ben Ricketts, Cars, what's your take on Keenan Allen? Bears seem to have 3 1s. DJ got an extension. Adunze is the future. How do you see this in the coming year playing out?
Bears would probably at most do a 2-year extension with him, and it would have to be relatively team friendly, right? It would have to be probably around the $20 million a year range for 2 years.
2 for 40 is the number in my
exactly. And so if he does that, I really feel like that's because let's see if I can make myself more unpopular than normal. If Justin Fields was the quarterback, he's not taking that deal. Caleb Williams as the quarterback, he's much more likely to take that deal because in 2 years, next year we could potentially be a Super Bowl contender. And so Keenan is someone that has said multiple times that winning is extremely important to him. So I could see that happen as well.
He's just got to if he's adamant he's going to be a $30 million a year player, he's going to be a former Bear after the season.
And he's
Keenan
not going to
Allen.
win a Super Bowl because the team that is going to go be able to pay him that are not going to be, he can go get that at Washington probably.
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
But
great point. I mean, that's probably exactly where it would be.
Yeah.
Totally agree. All right. So just
so I
some
can
more.
just answer this.
Yep.
Look, I get people's frustration, but if you missed earlier, the guys that Dominique got picked over last year didn't do anything in the regular season either. So this whole thing that like Hardy's looked great. How many sacks did Travis Gibson have last preseason? It was like 4 or 5. He went out and had 1 in the regular season.
He just got traded.
Yeah.
So, well, the people that the question that I would ask people that thinks that it's, politics is if they were going out of their way to go against Hardy, then, like I said, they drafted Austin Booker, who, guess what, is ahead of Hardy. They just went out and traded for Darrell Taylor, who, guess what, is ahead of Hardy on the depth chart. It is what it is, guys. I understand.
And it's ahead of Dominique as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't get stuck in looking at preseason stats, and because we're not seeing the entire picture. You have to see how these guys are in the classroom, how they are, away from the facility. And I'm not saying that Hardy is not the perfect, player off the field and in the classroom. He very well could be, but the Bears have options there. Again, we're talking about end of the roster guy. I don't think politics comes into it at all. I really don't. I mean, you could make a case that it would be more political if the Bears said, all right, we're going to go with Daniel Hardy no matter what, because he's flashed a little bit, and not do their due diligence and go after a guy like Darrell Taylor. You think Seattle would like to have Taylor back right now after they just lost their top sack guy to a torn ACL?
We talked about this last offseason, right? The thing the Bears would have done had been like, well, we can keep Sanborn in at middle linebacker and just go get someone on the outside. We don't need to do that. And they are constantly looking to upgrade, right? And that is always the case. So just because someone makes the team, again, at the back end of the roster, but it doesn't matter. They're potentially not going to be.
So the official designation on Ricky Stromberg is waived injured. So that is key.
But that is also usually code for
just
get this fucking guy off my team.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's critical because that means that there's probably some big time issues beyond just play, for sure.
Yeah.
So we are past the 4 p.m. where the official, initial 53s, I guess should say, need 4 p.m. East need to be in, and I'm just refreshing kind of as we go here. Here's some breaking news. Caleb Williams has made the Bears' initial 53-man roster, so that's...
Any news on if Rome made it? I know that that touchdown thing was maybe put him more on the fringe there, but are we good?
Yeah, Peter Bukowski says, cut him.
Yeah. Makes sense. Christian Watson is going to be amazing, though.
But yeah, if you guys have any questions, throw them in the chats. Super chats are also open if that's something that you're interested in. I'm just refreshing all of my tabs here kind of in the background to see as news rolls in here. But yeah, hit us up with some questions if you want. Yes, Hendricks. Yes, Caleb is in. He made it. It depends, George, kind of when the Bears release it. They can release it to the league. The league's not required to release anything, so it's up to the and I think that the Bears have honestly been one of the last teams to to announce everything.
Well, I mean, but this year, I think this year is different because no team is really Cleveland announcing the full list has been kind of the exception, not the rule, because if you don't see anything from Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, the Jets, like all these other teams. I think everybody was playing phone tag and trying to make trades happen right now.
Yeah. People are asking, other guys that we're interested in. I mean, I don't think he's going to get cut in New York. Leonard Taylor, the defensive tackle. It's interesting to see what's going to happen. I'm with Cars. Cars brought it up about 20 minutes ago, seeing what the cuts are going to be like in for the Jets. He's a guy that, by all of my analysis, never should have been undrafted. And I know when he went undrafted, I was hoping that the Bears signed him, but he signed with the Jets relatively quickly. He just fits here perfectly with what Flus wants at 3 technique. If for whatever reason he became available or was available for a trade, I would have no problem shipping a late round pick, even if it was a little bit higher than you expected, in 2026. Even if you had to throw a future fifth rounder for a 2024 undrafted free agent, that's a pretty good get for a team, but we'll see.
PJ Walker released by the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
Royce Freeman got released.
Yeah, they're starting to come in here pretty fast. So,
well, this is I think this is interesting just for this season. We look at it, the Titans have added L'Jarius Sneed, Chidobe, who I'm not a big Chidobe guy, he gets injured quite a lot, but Ernest Jones, Quandre Diggs, Jamal Adams, Kenneth Murray, Sebastian Joseph Day, and Tavondra Sweat.
Mm-hmm.
They are really trying to load up. So I think defensively that'll be a really good.
Yeah. So here's a name. Cars you brought up earlier. Terrell Lewis was on the Eagles roster. He was just released in Philly, along with defensive tackle Gabe Hall, is a guy. Paris Campbell was released in Philly. Julian Aquara, John Ross, Max Sharping. So they're starting to filter out here. Yeah, starting to trickle in. Absolutely. So we'll see. So Royce Freeman was with Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So now is Dallas making
Dallas? I thought he was.
He's with Dallas. Okay, former Bronco. Yeah. All right. I was going to say that kind of threw me off there. Ben Albright's tweet threw me off, but
good old Ben.
Yeah.
Every time he and Craig Gabriel get into an online spat, we all win.
Yeah, they've been going at it pretty good here the last couple of weeks, but let me get back into the chat.
So let's do this one. I think this is kind of a fun one. I think right now you still look at the Jets and Hassan Riddick as being an option just because they've moved nowhere on that deal whatsoever. And unfortunately for the Jets, they made a pretty decent trade for him. They're going to get even less than they spent. I think you've got to look at. I think Micah is a pipe dream there, but I think you look at, again, Cincinnati with Trey Hendrickson at the deadline because he's in the last year of a deal. He's someone that makes sense. I don't really know, though, a lot of other names of people that I'd be looking at.
Yeah, you're going to have to. I mean, Washington, obviously, depending on how things.
Jonathan Allen is one that makes way more than Daron Payne, by the way. Allen would be the player more there.
And then, you got to look at guys that are coming up on contract. And, some of these guys that are announced, like we said, trades can come in that just haven't been announced yet. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, the Bears are going to listen. Offensive linemen, it's quality top flight offensive linemen just don't hit the market. ever.
Defensive lineman is the same way.
Yep. And that's why when you have one available, that's like when Khalil Mack, when there was a standoff over, finances when he was with the Raiders, yeah, you have to make the call. And I understand, but man, you add a top flight pass rusher to this team with Montez Sweat and give him a running mate, man, you go from knocking on the door, telling everybody that you're coming, to just kicking the fucking door down and saying we're here. And that's even with a rookie quarterback. And I know, listen, there's steps to this process, but man, that's the thought process, Cars, in Hallis Hall. You know what I mean? They're not gonna. Ryan Poles is not going to be scared to unload the coffers if the right guy comes available for them. He's just not. He's shown it every year. He's made a bad trade in Chase Claypool, and then he followed it right up. And you think about after the Chase Claypool failure, how much
people would have been terrified. Ryan Pace would have been terrified.
Yeah, totally agree, man.
So it's really, again, when you watch this
okay
team,
so real quick, Cars, Kari Blasingame has been contract terminated.
Wow.
So
but the plan is to bring him back.
Yep.
It's just okay, so that,
yeah, it's a process. It's after it process an IR move. So yeah, the plan is to bring him back. Team is expected to resign him on Wednesday for the same amount, $1.55 million, after it processes as an IR move. So just
that's
some
not
roster
really a
shuffling.
release. That's we'll see it tomorrow.
Yep. But again, and he almost needs to have his position switched from fullback to H-back.
This, Shane, and you're right, but I think this is the type of move that the Bears make because they're holding on to someone else to make a trade, right? So this is that type of move, and because he's a vested veteran, that means that Kari is not subjected to waivers, so he would be able to sign. So that is why you make that as a type of move. But this, to me, would tell us that there is a trade that we will be making here, and we just needed the roster spot to hold a player before we made that trade.
Yeah, because you don't want to subject the guy to waivers that has interest of, you're like, to your point, Cars, shipping a guy. You have a trade worked out, and then you release him and think that you can bring him back. And yeah, totally agree. The other name we didn't, obviously, we started off the show, Corliss Waitman. That's should be a surprise by nobody, the backup punter. See what else we have rolling in here. The Packers have just put running back AJ Dillon on IR.
So he's done for the season?
Yeah. The Raiders.
God, I don't think we understand. You needed AJ Dillon to take some of that workload off of Josh Jacobs.
Sure.
But that means they're going to be heavy on Marshawn Lynch, and I would.
Not Marshawn Lynch. The kid from USC.
It is Marshawn though, right?
Yeah. It's.
My God.
Now you have me.
Don't get old. That's all I'm saying, guys. Like if you have
Marshawn Lloyd, yeah.
Lynch, Lloyd, it's the same thing.
I wish they would sign Marshawn Lynch. I think the Packers should sign him.
Thank you, everyone. I'm a dumbass. But I think that's a very significant loss for the Packers because of the way that they're really good at utilizing the run game to take pressure off of Jordan.
Yep, and neither one of them were designated to return. So, Tyler Davis is the other guy from Green Bay that is going to be out for the season.
So if that run game struggles, you're going to see a different Jordan Love, and I think that's a little scary for them as a team, but can be wonderful for us.
Oh, people are starting to lose their minds on Twitter. Surprise there.
Not fair and balanced Twitter. How shocking.
So Chris Blair was a guy that's kind of interesting wide receiver out of Atlanta. Had a really nice preseason. He was just waived in Atlanta. That'll be an interesting name to watch. I know that the Bears probably aren't interested in there, but just watching some of these other games, that's a guy that kind of stood out. What else we got coming in here? Oh, it's just so AJ Dillon, the neck injury. So that's not great.
That's a bad one.
Yeah. Definitely not great. Yeah. Yeah, Jose, we'll see how that goes. I mean, I know that they said that the he's expected back. Did they say it was at the beginning of October or the end of October?
Sometime in October.
Sometime in October. So we'll see. And Lions was also released, correct? Earlier in the day, or was that not official?
It was. I thought it was official. Let me.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Bears bring in a veteran guy there that's kind of been there, done that. But yeah, it can't be undersold, Jose. So I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, the one bad snap can dictate the outcome of a game, and we know how critical that is. You know, the Chicago Bears know that better than anybody, and we've had a pretty good run over the years here with Patrick Manley and now Patrick Scales. So yeah,
just got to find another Patrick, and then we'll be good.
Yeah. Maybe they're calling him, getting him out of retirement.
I still think he would be able to do it perfectly every time.
Yeah, he's pretty crazy. He might need to put on some of his weight that he's lost. He's trimmed down pretty good, but according to Greg Bragg's Cars, the reason the Bears official roster has not been released yet is because the Bears are trying to make room for Micah Parsons. So there's Greg putting out his infinite wisdom into the Twittersville to fire up the masses.
Who?
So what do we have here? So Patriots have theirs, and former Bear Kellen Deesh, however you say it.
Oh yeah, Deesh.
Yep, is among the Matt Landers is another guy that. Wow, that's the one that's kind of surprising to me is the corner Sean Wade released in New England. They've had
so the other Miles Murphy for the Bengals put on IR to return today. So
okay, yeah,
that was what a waste of a first round. Remember when everyone is like, the Bears should draft Miles Murphy in the first round. They absolutely should draft him. He should be the and wow, the Vikings had to release Lewis Seen.
Yeah, he had that bad injury last year that messed him kind of.
Oh, yeah, but you talk about another team that is.
Oh yeah,
is drafted awfully for that team.
Yeah, I can remember when the night that they drafted him because what was it? Was that 2 years? Was he a rookie last year or 2 years ago?
It was 22 because they traded back and then traded back up into the 32nd pick to pick him.
Yeah.
And it was he and Andrew Booth, and both have been absolute garbage.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see here. Yeah, so Bailey Zappi was a name that was.
Good Lord, you look at this. Minnesota, the 3 drafts for Kwesi.
Yeah.
Outside of Jordan Addison last year, yeesh, that is.
Ouch.
That is brutal. Like Steen, Booth, Ed Ingram, who has been a starter but has been one of the worst starters.
Yeah.
Brian Asamoah, Caleb Evans, who's not been very good, and then it goes on. Ty Chandler, maybe in round 5, maybe the best pick of that group.
Ooh. Christian Barrymore placed on the reserve NFI list.
Ooh, NFI list is always an interesting one.
Former Bear N'Keal Harry waived in
Remember when they
Minnesota.
moved him to tight end and
Tight
everyone's
end,
like,
yeah.
watch him cook now.
Yeah, because that always works.
It worked so well for Mike Williams and the Lions. So
Yeah. The Vikings, according to Mike Garafolo, the Vikings had trade talks with other teams, but couldn't land on agreement for safety Lewis Seen. There is definite interest in Seen, so the waiver process bears watching. No,
I don't get that because I mean maybe it's because if you're the Vikings, he's not going to be your starter, but that secondary is not very good.
no, I don't. I know that it seems like every single year, Cars they want to prop Minnesota up with
But look at
almost
the Brian Flores bump too.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Walensky, 10 snaps in 2 years. I know that the injury zapped him a lot, but Chris R. Thank you for the super chat, $1.99. How does the kickoff rule affect special teams slots? Well,
Probably means more offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, and tight ends, and less wide receivers.
Yeah, because it's gonna be interesting to see what the Bears do there, Cards. And I mean, is it gonna be if they keep Valus? I'm sure they're gonna see there, but are you gonna see a Khalil Herbert back there? Kind of a one cut guy and go. I wouldn't be shocked.
No, I mean, look, what we saw in the preseason is not going to be what the kickoff is going to look like overall. It's like everyone kept saying it, and it's true. There's a new rule. No one's going to go put that rule and play with it in preseason because they don't want any of that stuff on tape. When it gets to like week 1, week 2, you're going to start to see some crazier stuff done. And by the end of the season, I think, it's just going to ramp and you're going to see craziness. So yeah, it wouldn't shock me if you're going to put someone out there like that. It absolutely wouldn't shock me, if you see a Tyler Scott back there way more often than anything else because of his speed. So yeah, it's really crazy. Oh, let's hope moment of silence. Sam Mustipher released by the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, Olin's lighting a candle right now. Steelers moves are in. There's nothing I'm not going to go over.
Aren't you glad we didn't draft Broderick?
Ooh. We can go back to the patron draft, and Ryan Cox is on the hook for that one.
Oh,
because in the patron draft, the Bears pick was Broderick Jones, compliments of Mr. Ryan Cox. So we'll see if we can.
Let's boot him off that text chain, can we?
Stuff him down the disposal. Maybe I'll text Aaron and see if she can make that happen.
Please do.
Oh, of course, the Bears. Maybe they're busy making deals. We shall see.
I don't know. It's kind of quiet. None of the shock. And I think the biggest thing is we always have this freak out.
Yeah.
And then.
Well, but Cars, isn't it? It's so much better knowing that we have the top. I mean, they're not done with the top end of the roster, but there's none of the guys up at the top end of this roster are in any fear of losing their jobs. We're talking about definite, the last, 4 or 5 players on this roster. There might be some roster shuffling there. He has traits.
I think I don't know about you. And look, I know that the offensive line is going to need some improvement. I don't take away from that. But from watching a lot of these other games, our offensive line is significantly better than a lot of teams out there. Now, I don't think it's definitely not up to the Lions where the Lions have been played last year. But watching how bad Buffalo's offensive line was, Cincinnati's offensive line was, or maybe it was just that our defensive line was so good it made them look so bad. I do feel better about that offensive line because I do think it is a league wide issue. You look at Kansas City, Mahomes was under pressure a lot more last year than he had been in prior years, and that's been a thing. But I don't think that's it.
Here's some non-Chicago Bears, but semi-NFL related news coming in. Patrick Mahomes Sr. Arrested in Tyler, Texas, after a traffic stop that has resulted in him submitting blood, and he now has pled guilty to his third DWI. I said, oof. Poor Pat's winning on the field, man. His
brother and his father.
A lot of stuff off of it. That's for sure. Wow. Oh, wait a minute. So this was reposted from February, but yeah, I guess he pled guilty. So that's what happens on Twitter when everything's going fast and furious. So yeah, chalk that up for me.
Out and tweet some
bullets. Blame it on bullets. He just texted me that.
I love it.
Jeez. All right, yeah. So what time are we at here? 4:26. We'll take her to 4. We'll take her for 4 more minutes. See what comes in, Cars. And I know you're dealing with some stuff, and you got to go, and I have to go get changed and get my son to the open house at his school. Go do the dad thing there.
Is he still excited for those?
No.
Yeah,
no,
I'm waiting. You know, like my girls were so excited for the first day of school, so I was like,
yeah. When I got home and talked to him, I got so stupid, one of those things. So I'm like, oh well. You'll survive, buddy. I promise you. But they do like a whole thing. His school, it's bonkers. His school is like you've heard me say, very, very basketball driven, but all the kids that show up to the open house, they have hairdressers and barbers, and it's free school supplies for all the kids, free haircuts. They do this whole thing, which is kind of cool for the the kids in the area, especially the kids that come from families that need the help. Absolutely. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, what a boring deadline.
Yeah. So we'll see, but we know they're not done.
No.
Bullets chiming in. Thanks for the old news, Bullets. I know we can always.
It's a shame that he takes these jokes so poorly too. It just never is in a good mood.
Our guy Mike Hawes watching on 40-minute tape delay. Back to the Marshawn Lloyd thing. He'll catch up with that about 6 p.m. tonight. Trying to refresh everything.
I don't know who this person is. Do you? That name at the open house, Claudio. Does that name sound familiar to you?
Yeah, Claude. No, Claude. They can't afford Claude. Oh man, what? Everybody's waiting for Ryan Poles, and then don't forget we have Hard Knocks tonight.
I'm looking so forward to that one.
So, well, real quick, what has been your thoughts on it? I mean, let me ask you this way: if it wasn't the Bears, would you be tuning in? Because I would not be.
No, because I don't watch most of them. To be fair,
yeah.
No, I've enjoyed it because it gives us an insight that we don't normally get. I think it's been really nice. I think I get the uproar over the swearing, though I think it's not really that big of a deal, but we want to make it out to be. I like to see the meetings with Caleb, to see Caleb's interactions with the team and Rome's interaction with the other wideouts, and to see how I really would give anything to sit in on a defensive backs meeting because I think that group and its personalities is so much fun.
Yeah.
And Bullets is right. Like, I do believe that Flus's wife and daughters need a lot more time because those 60-second segments have completely opened it, and I old man needs to complain about, girls go, look at these guys trying hard, but
so real quick, Cars, we do have some more news here. Tight end Brendan Bates has been waived. The Bears want him back on the practice squad, but multiple teams have already expressed interest in a potential claim.
He would have to make an active roster for that to make sense, because I think he's a year out. Because I don't expect Everett here after this year. I don't and if Lewis comes back, it's not the same. Bates is really impressed, and I think he's got something. But I mean, Jesper Horsted flashed and showed us something the last couple of years, and sadly, again, another moment of silence didn't make it anywhere. So it good for him. I think he deserves it, but I do hope that he comes back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of the Bears tight ends. I mean, they had a great training camp tight end room from top to bottom. Honestly, the one that I was most disappointed in was Everett, Gerald Everett. And there's maybe he's going to turn the switch on. Maybe we'll see. He better, because man,
the effort has not been there for him or Keenan for a lot of it. Even DJ, and I think that'll be interesting to see, and maybe we'll cover topics if there's ever a Car Keys again.
Yeah, we'll see. Stay tuned. We'll see how that goes. We're
in negotiations.
I'm talking to Maisie, Car's agent, right now. We're trying to.
She tries a hard bargain.
Trying to hammer home a deal, but there might be we can't secure a deal. There could be a Car's Keys in Cincinnati, we've heard. So
there are negotiations. You've given my agent room to negotiate with other fan bases right now.
So interesting. So the Bears are expected to place defensive end Jacob Martin on short-term IR. So that's
an interesting one to keep.
Yeah, that's man, and to waste a return spot on him, they have to be quite high on him, Cars. That's the surprise of the day right there.
Yeah, I'm
not a fan of that.
Again, it doesn't make a big difference, but
no, but it's just,
you're talking about a guy who's had 18 sacks in 7 years, right? Or 8 years. It's not.
But I mean, you bring him back, let's just say after year 5 or after week 5, that's going to affect your depth chart. So I mean, that could be a guy, if Daniel Hardy is on the practice squad, that could push Dom Robb off the roster. Maybe they're giving him another win. I don't know, man.
I don't understand that one, but I'm not gonna freak at all.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna freak either, but just updating this one more time before we get out of here. And we have nothing, but Scottish Bear threw it out. Breaking news: the Steelers have cut Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and signed Austin Reed on a 3-year contract. Yeah.
I think, I don't know if anybody heard Parkins on the new, FS1 show.
I didn't hear it, but I heard about it. Yeah.
He nailed it, where he's like, these two are both going to play this season. They're both with their failures, they're both going to have their issues.
Yep.
And neither of those two are going to be on that team come next year.
Well, and that's the thing, and they declined the 5th-year option on Justin. Let's just say if Justin went out there and played decent, you have to re-sign him. And man, I'm glad we are not in that. I'm glad we are not in that world. But Axeman, that was a joke, by the way, from our guy Scottish Bear. So it's still in play. But I don't think Justin's getting 51% of the snaps.
I do.
Do you really?
That offensive line is hot garbage.
It's true. Yeah, that's a great
Russell
point.
not show the same level of escapability that he's not the magic man that he used to be.
No.
So yeah, I really truly think that he's going to end up being the starter, but you are going to see kind of all of those flaws as well as all of those excuses continue on. So yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, send me the 4th rounder. I'll be all about that as soon as because it's 51%, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, appreciate you guys showing out. We're about an hour and 20 minutes in to this pop-up show. Stay tuned this week. We had to do some guest shuffling. Next week we're gonna to kick off the week of the season. We're gonna have our guy Brett Maley is gonna be coming back, not tomorrow night, but next week. We're gonna do our over unders. We're gonna have Courtney Cronin on, but she had to reschedule for a date later in the month, so she's gonna be coming up. And I'm not gonna break any news, but stay tuned. There might be some more things coming up this week from TTNL. So
could be a fun week.
We'll see. We will see. Love you guys. Just keep it tuned here. TTNL. We're gonna have it all covered. We're gonna get out of here. Go do our thing. Cars. Good luck, buddy. I know you gotta do your thing, and don't let Maisie beat you up too bad.
Oh, too late. It's the only joy I have in life is now I'm the coach of her soccer team. So every time she sasses me, I make her run ladders on the soccer field. So it works.
All right. We are out of here. I'm trying to find the ender, but we'll just choose this one. It's a new era. The new era Bears, new roster. Let's get it. Bear down, everybody. Love you guys.
Later.